You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your family.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney+, Hulu, ESPN+, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
At Tyson, we know taste is local. Some like their beef pit smoked, their chicken spiced all the way up, or their pork sweet and saucy. Local flavors, global impact. That's what feeding the world is all about.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Here are the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your family.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney+, Hulu, ESPN+, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment!
Because everyone deserves better.
And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again.
yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. The team is back together again. It is none other than Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike is back, man. And Mike has been on assignment. I got updates. He put in his payroll paperwork and he had the documentation. So I can show you, Mike really was on assignment. Besides the Brazil and all that other stuff that he slid out to, I'm not sure how he thinks he's going to get reimbursed for that. But he snuck in there and made sure he had on the road in Orlando with Stephen A. Smith last week as they were down there in Orlando for HBCU week on first day. So he was there. He provided the proof. So I'm excited, Mike. It's my understanding he did some tailgate as well. So, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Doc. I appreciate it. Glad to be back after traveling. Man, that was a wonderful experience. I tell you that. At HBCU week with Stephen A. on the show. Kudos to Delaware State's band. They brought it. I don't know if you're doing your band ranking. I don't know if you can take that into consideration. But, man, they rocked it right there, man.
Delaware State?
I know. I said the same thing. But they got a band? Okay. That's what a lot of people were like. I didn't know Delaware State had a band. But they drum line was rocking.
I appreciate that, Mike. So I guess maybe we'll put in this assignment. I wonder why you sent the video, I guess for proof as well. Then you have a camera scene as if you were setting up cameras and putting in work. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about all that. But that was kind of neat that you brought up the camera crews and stuff like that. So that was pretty good. And so we'll get a shot of that as well. To show proof that Mike was on assignment. Wow, I can't believe it. Charles, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Dr. Bill. Mike done slipped back in and brought some chicken in the hole, and man, he all good to go.
So he brought the chicken, the Twizzlers. He done slid back in. The Miller Black and Gold beer to make sure that everybody know. Yeah, you think, yeah.
There so you go. Good job,
down tonight. MGD. That's some preset conversation that went on in the background as some folks were asking about who is swacking, how is swacking, whether somebody's a neophyte. You know, this is second year for Bethune-Cookman as well as FAMU. So that's the pictures of you see as the camera crew that Mike claimed he's setting up. I'm not sure how he got all in production for that. That was pretty neat. I was like, man, Mike, you were there early. So I guess you were putting in some Mike. So we'll write your check this week. You're clear. You got out of there, so we appreciate it. But on the backstory, you had the fact that AD Drew was talking about, hey, you know, who's SWAC? Who's SWAC? And so I'm gonna ask each of y'all, how SWAC are you, Charles? Where your SWAC to come in? Where your SWAC hours?
Oh, I'm a SWAC baby. I just grown up in the culture. All I know is SWAC, so I can't be nothing but SWAC.
Mike, how SWAC are you?
Man, I got my SWAC hours all embedded, all up in my tats, all up in my brands. I'm telling you, I'm so SWAC. I'm telling you, there's nobody ain't got more SWAC hours than me.
I like it. I'm gonna try to test you. I go back to SWAC to the 1920. Ben L. Cavil HBCU Football Award. We'll start talking a little bit more about who the front runners of that are. That's my great uncle, as you know, that played halfback for Wiley College that he talked about then. Really, fullback was the term they used at that time. For Wiley College, when they were winning championships, a couple of national championships he has on his resume too, as they split one with Bluefield State. back in the day. That's 1925 to 1929 when players played 5 years before they rolled out the year and said they could only play 4. So that was a whole different opening decade. So yeah, I'm back there when Prairie View and the founders came into the SWAC 1920. That's how SWAC I'm going to try to be in there. Plus the 1960s when Prairie View, his son played on the national championship teams at Prairie View in the 60s as the center for that team. So I go back to that era as well. So there's multiple ways that I could try to tease out in regards to how SWAC I am.
Doc, watch how SWAC I am. And I could trace my lineage of SWAC. There's a Jackson State win over Alcorn, November. I come along in August of '73 sometime. So I might be that SWAC baby.
All right. Since we throwing out all this, I can chase my lineage back to the 1950s. They didn't have Greeks on the yard at PV. They had clubs. I can trace my grandfather back to a club called the LBLs. So that was the frat on the yard back then. My uncle played at UNAPB and played ball with LC Greenwood. He'll tell you they call him Big Earl. My dad was the roommate of the late great Otis Taylor at PV. That's how SWAC I am.
Oh, that's SWAC. I'm gonna go back in there. My grandfather was SWAC, part of the first ROTC class where everybody's known, which Mike is part of that ROTC. He was part of the first 2 graduates in that class. In 1947, they went to World War II after that. Yes, he actually was on campus when W.D. Boyce came down there. He drove him around the campus of Prairie. Yeah, that's how SWAC I am. And if y'all want to know, we can do
how SWAC am I? Purvis Short used to babysit me, or any of the athletes at Jackson State had to babysit me if they got in trouble, because my dad was over the athletics going. So,
oh, this is good. This is good. So anyway, let's get back to this. We tease it out, having some fun. In a lot of ways, that's how you do it. I know seriousness. Those guys came at it. They moved on, so we're gonna move on and get into some real conversation. As it sounds like, it may be FAMU may be on the AD, finding out who they have as the AD. Tiffany Dawn Sykes from HBCU Game Day, at least according to them, they believe that they have several sources that FAMU has found the next director of athletics, Tiffany Dawn Sykes. And people that have been around HBCU sports are probably familiar with her. She's had stints in CIAA where she actually played two-star sport player in terms of basketball, as she got it down there, as well as volleyball in terms at Virginia State University. She's climbed up in terms of senior women administrator, currently at Dartmouth for 3 years, compliance director, and later appointed as senior women's administrator. She's had roles, as I said, CIAA, MEAC, and SWAC, a period with Grambling State, as she did some leadership there as the assistant athletic director for compliance as well. She was responsible for women's sports, baseball, softball, and women's tennis, plus created the mall, which is a fueling station for GSU students pretty early when that came out, when she was doing that. She spent time in Norfolk State for 4 years, the NCAA eligibility specialist. Shawan in North Carolina for 3 years, the director of NCAA compliance. So she's moved around and got a lot of things done in terms of building her career and resume. So if that is the case, wish her the best of luck. I've had a chance to meet her and talk to her different things. We were scheduled to actually bring her on the show a couple of times this summer, but the schedules wouldn't work out. So that's amazing when you talk about that. But any thoughts on that, Charles, in terms of this potential hire, in terms of Tiffany Sykes?
Yeah, it looks like FAMU has got their individual who's going to move them in the right direction. A very storied career, has been affiliated with the SWAC during various stints and whatnot. I think this is a hire they knocked out the park. She is a very accomplished administrator.
I'll get your thoughts shortly, Mike, but I want to get into the SWAC players of the week. If you would, Charles, go ahead and provide the SWAC players of the week.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's take a look at the SWAC players of the week. The SWAC is named Jackson State Shedeur Sanders, Florida A&M's Isaiah Major, along with Southern's Joshua Griffin and Bashan McCray as its SWAC football players of the week for their performances this past week. Let's take a look at the offensive stats. Shedeur Sanders, he completed 30 of 46 pass attempts for 332 yards to go along with 3 passing touchdowns during Jackson State's 26-12 over Alabama State, through touchdowns of 35, 25, and 16, while completing passes to 10 different receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, Isaiah Major, a key contributor all over the field in the backfield as the Rattlers defeated South Carolina State 20-14. Major, he had led the Rattlers with 13 tackles, 5 solo with 8 assists, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. The specialist of the week was Griffin, played by the part in the Jaguar special teams unit, connected on a 40-yard field goal in Southern's 45-13 win over Prairie View. Is also 6 of 6 as far as extra point attempts. And the newcomer of the week, Bashawn McCray. He led the Southern Jaguar offensive attack for the second straight week with 360 yards of total offense. He went 16 of 22 for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns to go along with 85 yards on the ground. So those are your SWAC players of the week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Shout out to all those players of the week of the SWAC getting it done with big-time games. Non-conference win by FAMU, big one over South Carolina State. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of the MEAC players of the week?
Man, not to be outdone, Morgan State senior running back Alfonso Graham and Norfolk State redshirt sophomore wide receiver Daquan Felton were named MEAC Football Offensive Players of the Week, presented by Coca-Cola, of course. The conference announced just today, the year our Lord, October 11th, 2022. Norfolk defensive back Stuart Anderson Jr. was named Defensive Player of the Week, while the Spartans' Kevon King was named Rookie of the Week, and Morgan State Junior Dexter Carr. Graham of the Alfonso type racked up a career-high 203 rushing yards on 23 carries. Wow. Averaging 8.8 yards per attempt. Man, that's better than some teams' average per attempt. I just wanted to put that data point in there. And the Bears lost to Norfolk State. The MEAC's leading rusher previously gave the Bears the lead with a 51-yard touchdown with a $1:53 remaining in the game, capping off a stretch of 21 unanswered points by Morgan State. He also caught 4 passes for 21 yards. Now, Felton of the Daquan Felton type caught the game-winning touchdown pass with 5 seconds remaining against Morgan State. A 3-yard strike to the corner of the end zone from Mr. Jalen Adams. In all, Felton caught a career-high 8 passes for 94 yards, and that score in helping the Spartans pick up their first win of the season. Now, not to be outdone, Mr. Anderson, for those of you who like Matrix, caught the game, recorded 9 tackles, 6 solo, including a tackle for loss in the Spartans' conference victory over Morgan State. He also had one of the game's key plays as the Bears' Graham appeared to be on the verge of scoring before Anderson forced a fumble on the 1-yard line that the Spartans later recovered. Interesting. All right. So Mr. King, running back, the 5'11" freshman, rushed for 36 yards and a touchdown on 4 carries against Morgan State, including a 34-yard score in the first quarter for the first score of the game. And last but not least, Mr. Dexter Carr Jr. Great game, graded out at 94% against the Spartans, recording a pair of pancake blocks. I love that stuff. Besides the kill in volleyball, I love that term, pancake blocks. Anyway, I digress. Pancake blocks anchoring a Bears offensive line that helped amass 375 yards of total offense, including 259 on the ground. He did not allow a sack or commit a penalty. So congratulations to the MEAC Players of the Week. You go do it. As we say on the Hill and PV, they were ready.
With that being said, great information there. Want to give an update? It is now official. According to our site sources, it is official. The Dawn Sykes, I should say, is the new Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics at Florida A&M University. Official announcement has came out. Thanks for sharing that, A.D. Drew. The release is now on FAMUathletics.com if you want to read and get that update. Good work by HBCUGameDay.com, getting that information out there. Before we go to this quick break, I did want to talk about this. I'd be remiss, Coach Prime. Docu-series coming to Amazon Prime. Makes some sense. Coach Prime, Amazon Prime, right? There's only one coach we call Prime Time, and there's only one series like this. Coach Prime is a 4-episode docu-series, I should say, that takes the viewers inside Dion, Coach Prime Sanders' Jackson State University football program, which is shaking up the entire college football landscape in so many different ways. Episodes will premiere in December exclusively on Prime Video in more than 240 countries and territories around the world. The series follows JSU Tigers at practice, games, in the locker room, off the field, and in the community amid the team's quest for HBCU National Championship during a season unlike any other. This season's unforgettable and inspiring journey includes Coach Prime's welcoming the nation's top recruit, Travis Hunter, to Jackson State, and the team's exciting performances on game day. You get all that information, and there is a quote in here, quote, which when Coach Prime began his job at Jackson State, the biggest challenge and the brightest opportunities facing us was the collective shine and light on HBCUs and breaking down barriers faced by the culturally important yet overlooked and underfunded institutions. We have worked tirelessly over the past few years building coalitions, forging partnerships, and developing this documentary series to encourage and create change, end quote. That's by Constance Schwartz Marini, co-founder and CEO of Smack Entertainment and executive producer of Coach Prime. We are thrilled to partner with Prime Video to expand the series audience and giving viewers a sense of culture unique to HBCUs and behind-the-scenes look at Coach Prime and his efforts to level the playing field. Coach Prime is executive produced by Smack Entertainment. Michael Strahan, Constance Schwartz Marini, and Fred Anthony Smith are all a part of this. I like the collaboration with other individuals, particularly Michael Strahan, Texas Southern University, product himself, Hall of Famer. They've obviously crossed paths in partnership on the suits that he's provided Jackson State and most recently Texas Southern University. So big time, big deal. Let's go to a quick break. We'll be right back after the other side. It's time to give the poll rankings. I want to see what they think about the poll rankings. And then the second half of the show, we'll get into some true matchups. With that being said, stick with us. We'll be right back after this first quarter break.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
They can follow their dreams. Let's get back to getting ticks instead of watching flicks. Before we can safely get out there, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your crew.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professors Washington and Professor Bishop, giving you some updates in regards to the poll rankings. Let's get into it with the mid-major. Shout out for those out there, George Suggs, Leonard Blow. I hear you. I see what you're talking about, Norfolk State. They got that big win. You ready to go. You see a path to the Celebration Bowl, one game at a time. I see you plan it. Michael D. Jones, Carlos Brown is in the building. Ricky Burton, Stephen Gaither. Not going to happen. They already chiming in. Mary Allen's in. Noel Price, Emma Price, Thomas Einstein Maddox. Deidre Lackey is in the building. Good stuff. Edwin D. Moore. Shout out. G. Boom Holly is checking us out. Donald Croft. Much love. Edwin D. Moore. Who else we had? LaShawn Harris is back in the building. Appreciate you. Who else? Herbert Bolden is checking us out. Jerome Jeep Sutton is always in the building. Reginald Johnson. Christopher Darrell. I see you. George Walker. Shout out to all those folks out here giving us a love. Wilton Jackson. Jaron. I hope I'm saying that right. Hill. Sator Black is in here. Checking us out. Hadn't seen Sator Black in a while. Appreciate you showing us some love. Mr. Black, Travis Rose, Kay Johnson, always support. Just want to give some shout outs for those getting it. Let's get in this poll ranking and see what you think. Top teams. As we get into it, there was a team that dropped out of the top 10, which is Lane Dragons. Tough loss after that big victory last week. They fall to 3-3, 2-1 in the conference race. With that being said, receiving votes, Savannah State Tigers 3-3, 2-2. Lane Dragons are also receiving votes at 3-3, 2-1 in the conference race. And Lincoln, Pennsylvania Lions 2-3, just outside of the top 10, trying to find a way to get in that top 10. Get us a couple of victories. Lions of Lincoln, Pennsylvania. See if you get in the top 10. With that being said, let's get in those top 10 teams. Who is the new team in the poll ranking? It is none other than West Virginia State Yellow Jackets. They're back in the top 10 with a big victory last week. They are now currently on the season 4-2, 33-2 in the conference race. They had received 10 points as they were not ranked last week, but they're in the top 10 this week. At number 9, Tuskegee Golden Tigers continue their winning ways this season as they rebuild and rebound that program 4-2 overall, 3-0 in the conference race. 19 points. They move up a ranking last week. At number 8, Virginia State Trojans 4-2, 3-1. Tough losses last week, 21 points. They fall 3 spots from number 5 last week. At number 7, Fayetteville State Broncos 4-2, 3-1 on the season, 42 points. They stay at number 7. At number 6 to finish up the bottom 5 is Bowie State Bulldogs 4-2, 3-1. They jump up 2 spots to number 6. Big matchup this week. Let's get into the top 5 programs. The cream of the crop. At number 5, Fort Valley State 5-1, 2-1. Had a big victory. They move up 1 spot at 62 points, bringing us to number 4. Albany State Golden Rams. They continue to do what they do. 5-1 overall, 3-0 in the conference race. 2 first place votes, 73 points. They stay at number 4. At number 3, we had the Langston Lions. 5-0, did not play last week. 4-0 in the conference race. Big matchup this week. We will talk about that a little bit. Still 2 first place votes, 82 points, but they do drop. So we have a new number 2 team, which is the Benedict Titans. 6-0 on the season, 4-0 in conference race. Surprising everybody with that big win this past weekend. They continue to get it done. Had that win over Fort Valley State, 88 points, previous ranked 2. They move up a spot. But number 1, the Virginia Union Panthers, 6-0, 4-0, conference race, 4 first place votes, 96 points. They put everything on the test. Can they dethrone the team that has just beat everybody? Bowie State, which is number 6. So you got a top 10 matchup. We'll talk about that on Thursday. But just let you know, let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts on the top 10 rankings?
Top 4, no issues. But I tell you what, Booker T. Washington and the remaining Tuskegee Airmen, they wondering about that 9 ranking. They 3-0 in conference play. That's a strong 4-2. I might bump Fayetteville down just a notch and have Tuskegee sitting up there at 7. Tuskegee's been impressive thus far.
I can see that. I can see Fayetteville State. They hadn't had the biggest wins, nor has Tuskegee. But I can see that. Let me go to Mike and see his.
Oh man, please. I think right now, what you got with Benedict, Albany State, Fort Valley. Right now, those are the top three teams. I agree with CV. I think you can bump. I think Tuskegee at 3-0, 4-2. I think they need to be a little bit higher in the poll. You look at their schedule compared to Fayetteville. That's one data point. They're about a magnitude higher than Fayetteville. So I would put Tuskegee up a little bit higher. That's just my simple data point.
Man, I see y'all picking up on me. I feel you though. Y'all teaming up.
Steve again say we don't respect the CIAA.
Entertain. I see it. I'm not going to entertain y'all. I'm going to go in here and talk about my major division because y'all get back together. Mike goes out on the trips, brings back a couple of things. Now you got the money. Now y'all want to team up. I don't know what else y'all do. Let's get into the top 10 major division. No team dropped out of the poll this weekend, but we do have some changes in receiving votes. Texas Southern Tigers receives the bulk of the votes outside of the top 10 with 11. They improved to 2-4, 2-2 in the conference race as they get a win over Pine Bluff on the road. Tough matchup. Doing better on the defensive side than most people thought this year. Bringing us to South Carolina State Bulldogs, struggling, playing some tough games, but they're struggling 1-3 on the season as they continue to struggle quite a bit. They hadn't played in the conference yet. That's one of the saving grace. We saw what they did last year. Can they do it again? I'm not sure about that. 3 overall points, but let's get into the meat. Let's get into the top 10. At number 10, North Carolina A&T State Aggies, 2-3 on the season, 1-0. They stay in the top 10, but they drop with 18 points, 1 place. At number 9, you have Alabama State Hornets, fall to 3-3 on the season after their tough home loss. They fought valiantly to the number 1 team, but could not get it done. They fall to 1-2 in the conference race, more importantly, with 22 points, and they fall 1 spot in the standing. At number 8 is Hampton Pirates, 3-2 on the season, 0-2, 27 points. They also fall a spot as they go to number 8. At number 7, Prairie View Panthers, 3-3 on the season, 3-1 in the conference race, 49 points. They dropped 5 spots after what happened to them at home this weekend, especially in the second half. And number 6, Southern Jaguars climb up the pole, 4 spots after their big victory. Third, 3-3 on the season, 2-1, 64 points. Bringing us to the top 5 where it gets really interesting. New interest in the top 5 this week is Delaware State Hornets. They continue to get it done. Did not play this week, but because of what others did and fell out the top 5, it puts them in there at number 5, 3-2, as they improve 1 spot at 69 points. At number 4, North Carolina Central Eagles also didn't play, but they improve a spot. 4-1, hadn't got in the conference play. They will play on Thursday. Big matchup, time to see if they can make a move. 90 points, as it's close between them and number 3, which is Alcorn State Braves, continues to win. They don't go on the road with their rival, Valley is over. But if you know anything about Mississippi, you know this is a big game. They get it done. Pull away late, 3-2, 2-0, and the Braves just continue to do what they do, but they sit and remain at number 3. Bring us to number 2, Florida A&M Rattlers, 4-2, 2-1. They move up 2 spots with a big road win at South Carolina State. Yes, we look at the record, but anybody knows about this contest. It's just one of those dogs and cat fights in a lot of ways. I guess you could say dogs and snakes, if you would. They get it done. At number 1 is Jackson State Tigers, 5-0, 3-0. Although they had a tougher game than many people thought, they still hold on to all their first place votes. 120 points, they get it done at number 1. I'm going to go to you first this time, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 10 of Inside the HBCU Huddle Report this week for week number 6, as Jackson State Tigers remain number 1 for the 6th consecutive week?
No, no problem with Jackson State sitting at number 1, but no problem. I'm still drinking.
So that means you have some other things that you want to share.
Absolutely. I still drinking after that Prairie View lost to Southern. And I'm still, as a matter of fact, I still got my glass right here. You can't see it. But after that convincing victory and looking at what Alcorn State has done, they've been sitting there. I think Southern has warranted enough to be considered in the top 5. They were picked that way at the beginning of the season. I think they've proven themselves to be in the top 5. I don't know if Alcorn may be good, I don't know how good yet. We'll see this weekend in Mumford State, AW Mumford Stadium. So I don't know. We rank them on how they played, face-to-face victory, and their strength of schedule. So to this point, I don't know if Alcorn has showed me enough to be that high in the rankings.
Well, they got a chance to show you this week.
Yes, I'm from Missouri. This is a chance to show me this weekend how good they are at AW Mumford Stadium.
Ooh, John Grant chimes in with the poll rankings. I like that. Go ahead, John. Give us your update. He says North Carolina Central should be higher than number 4. Yeah. Charles, what do you thought?
I also agree with the Eagles should be higher ranked as well.
They didn't play last week. And the last time they played, they got monkey stumped by Campbell. Can y'all let me play?
And that was the only reason.
Them all over the world.
That's the only reason I'm gonna leave them.
I want everybody to understand before I let you in, Charles. Everybody needs to understand. This is a power ranking. This is not a power ranking where you talk about the strength of a team overall. This is week to week. I need y'all to understand and go look up the definition. We in the lab class. One thing you should know when you come to the lab, when somebody puts something on the board and tells you, you need to understand the definition. Don't make up your own definition. You ain't got no definition yet. Before you start defining. This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU huddle report. Come on now. Well, maybe I'm too hard on that. Go ahead. Tell me your thoughts, Charles. Let me
I hear you, Mike. I hear you where, you think Southern should be a little higher, and they are gelling. That was an impressive win this past week, but they still got that shutout sitting on their ledger from Texas Southern. That to me is that sits out there, that weighs on them. North Carolina Central, that's a strong team. I see them sitting at 4, and then what's interesting is FAMU quietly just chugging away. That was an impressive win this past week at South Carolina State in Orangeburg. So things, I guess, are going to shake out a little bit more. But I tell you what, Delaware State's sitting at 5. They got to prove it in the game this weekend, going to Norfolk State. Norfolk State coming off that big win over Morgan State. So let's see if Delaware State has a justification for being in the top 5 team.
What has Delaware State done? What has Delaware State done? What has Delaware State done?
They won their last couple of games, and they have a better record than Southern Fairview.
They beat Robert Morris and Lincoln. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that ain't my fault because y'all can't schedule. Y'all need to go to scheduling school. I like what Kay Johnson says. Pass out the rubric. Let me give y'all the rubric. You got to play. You play what's on your schedule. Then you win those games. Again, this is not a power ranking. I need y'all to understand it, boy. I don't know why y'all can't get it in your head.
If it's not a power ranking, we need to put some power in it because Delaware State.
No, man, y'all ain't right. Let's go to this break. That's too much. Shout out for all those. Barrick says SU should be top 5. Hell, they had 6. You want to give up?
Delaware State. I
tell you what,
Delaware State has one D1 win.
I give you this. You take out a top 3 Alcorn State Braves. I don't care if it's at home or the road. I know it's at home. You do that, I guarantee you, you'll find your way in the top 5 because Alcorn gonna fall. The game's ahead of you. Show it on the field. Y'all quit begging and wanting all this stuff. I understand. This is a matchup. You can't negotiate your way in this class.
All I'm saying, you can't
write the paper. Show it on the field.
Give Delaware State credit for breaking teams like Virginia Lynchburg. I can put my family together.
Y'all need to be careful about talking about Delaware State. They do have a out of conference win
over
and whether it's the React and SWAC, y'all ain't got a lot of those.
They beat Virginia.
Careful what you talk about in terms of a win. Some of y'all need to practice what you preach because y'all ain't got no non-conference wins. Mike, talk about that. Gonna go to the break before Mike get mad. And he gonna turn off my mic. I don't know how he gonna do it though, but I got a good try. He done been out on the side.
Hey, Doc, here comes the Alcorn contention like that. I can't believe Florida A&M is sitting in front of us.
Hey, put him on the schedule. Y'all get the chance. With that being said, we're gonna go to our break. halftime watching sport, which will brew a praying ranking. I know they're going to get excited about that on Thursday. We got some changes in the top 5 in terms of what took place this weekend. We had those 2 top 5 matches. We'll see what happened after all the carnage on the marching sport this Thursday. With that, we'll get into the halftime break. We'll be right back after this and get into some matchups this weekend. Pretty big ones. Again, we'll get in those conference games, SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, SIC on Thursday. We're going to give you some independent, and we're going to give you some classic matchup right after this break. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it runs.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Great dialogue. Great job, guys, out there in the lab. Listeners are going at it. I love it. Talk to. That's what I need to know. Give me your input, though. I do like your input. Some of y'all need a calculator, though, but I do like your input. With that being said, let's get into some matchups. We do have some big ones here. We're going to go to a HBCU mid-major classic game of the week. No classics this week for mid-major, so we're going to go to a homecoming game. We're going to go to Atlanta, Georgia. Y'all know I like Clark Atlanta Panther Stadium. I know what they do in Atlanta for the homecoming. And while they might need to work on what they're doing on the field, homecoming, they know what they're doing. SIEC Saturday, October the 15th at 1 o'clock. Savannah State Tigers 3-3, 2-2 at Clark Atlanta Panthers. 2-4 on the season. They do have 2 wins already this season. 1-3. Savannah State Tigers, which Savannah State Tigers going to show up. It's going to be interesting, this matchup. None of them in the top 10. Some of them just outside trying to get that matchup. But you see this game is on ESPN Plus. Let me go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts between Savannah State Tigers, Clark Atlanta University, homecoming? It is the SIEC East Division, as they say on that side, matchup. What are your thoughts?
Well, right now it looks like a 3-horse race in that East Division. With Benedict, Albany State, Fort Valley, Savannah's pitching fourth. Clark Atlanta's only win is against Edward Waters. So a D2 team. So I think it will be Savannah State in a victory. Way more offense than Clark Atlanta's putting up. Way more defense than Clark Atlanta can put against. So I look for Savannah State. I look for it to be an entertaining game, a good game, but I look for Savannah State to pull that one out.
Charles, which direction you going with this matchup?
Yeah, when you take a look at it, Clark Atlanta has trouble scoring. I mean, they're scoring.
You're not gonna give them no love for homecoming.
I want to. I really want to give them love on homecoming. But they're averaging only 9 points a game offensively. They're 11th in the conference, and they're going against the number one defense in the conference in Savannah State. So I got to go with Savannah State. They're only yielding 6 points a game thus far in conference play. So defense wins ball games. So you got to go with Savannah State on this one.
This is the one I really want to get into. HBCU Independent Non-Conference Mid-Major Division Game of the Week. Fort Worth, Texas. Langston is on the road. As you see, they're ranked number 3 in the HBCU Inside the HBCU Huddle report in terms of the lab. 5-0, 4-0. This is where things kind of went in a different direction this last year. Again, they played Texas Westland Rams, who are 5-1, 4-1 in the conference race. So this is a big one. They got 2 big matchups back-to-back, but they start here. Charles, what do you think Langston Lions will get done? Will they get it done this year, or will they fall in the same trap they did last year?
This is a tough one. This is when you take a look at Langston, especially this past game, tremendous balance, 500 yards of total offense. A name we don't talk about a lot, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in HBCU athletics. Larry Harrington from Langston, true dual threat. He gets it done week in, week out, throwing for over 250 yards, and normally he's up there with regards to rushing as well. But I mean, he is a tremendous quarterback. But they're going against Texas Wesleyan. They have 1 loss on the ledger, but they have 3 shutouts on the season thus far, Dr. Cavil. They're playing this game on the road. This will be a tough one for Langston, but I'm going to go with the high-scoring Langston Lions to get the win on the road.
As Brandon King says, it's pronounced Albany. Just letting everybody know. Mike tells us all the time with his family from them points, and everyone points out them data points is back. With that being said, everyone says he wish he could be in Fort Worth to check out this game, but I want to know what Mike thinks.
No, all things been said, I got to go with Langston. I mean, offense, 41 points a game. They're allowing the opponents 22, 23 points a game. They're high flying. They look good. I think they're number 3 in the Sooner Athletic Conference in total offense, number 2 in total defense. I think they go into and pull this one off, even though it's a very tough opponent. I gotta go with Langston on this one. And yes, it is Albany. My wife corrected me once again. My wife and folks are from that region. You better say Albany.
And you better say Alcorn, not Alcorn.
Exact. Yeah. I was corrected.
Y'all better figure it out. Y'all better figure it out.
Yeah, you gotta tell the national folks
already.
Yeah.
Some of y'all need to take your diction lesson in the deep south, or these folks gonna bop you in your head. With that being said, we're gonna take our last break and get in our 4th quarter, go into our major division matchups. We got a little bonus game that we're gonna break down this week as well. Stick with us. We'll be right back for our last break and get in that last segment with some of these major division games of the week.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. For our last segment, we're back with the professors. We got Professor Washington, Professor Bishop, going into the major division. And we do have an HBCU major division classic game of the week, so we'll give you that. We're going to go to Washington, D.C., Audi Field, Truth and Service Classic. You have an Ivy League team versus a MEAC team with Harvard Crimson, 3-1 on the season, 2-0 versus Howard Bison, 1-4 on the season. A lot of interest here. I'm not sure when you talk about Harvard, they're 3-1, played a pretty decent schedule, 2-0 in the conference. So let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? Iconic in some ways, but will it play out that way on the field?
Yeah, pretty iconic matchup when you talk about two quote-unquote meccas of education, with Harvard going against Howard. But I got to go with Harvard. I think they're the more complete team going into this, very balanced on offense, and they play good defense. Thus far, they've been 2-0 in conference play. So I look for the Crimson to get this W.
Mike, do you think Harvard will get into that dialogue about the battle of the real HU, or is that too much cultural affinity for them to really understand that?
Yeah, my vote would be that that's too much in that cultural affinity river valley. So, but I do go with Harvard. They, I think they're on top of the division. I think they're either first or second in the league in offense. You look at Howard and where they're standing, their offense flutters quite a bit. So, I unfortunately, I have to go with Harvard on this one.
I see. I understand. You call it data points, as you said. Let's go into this HBCU independent non-conference major division game of the week. Tennessee State bounces back, gets a win over Bethune-Cookman for homecoming, but now they're on the road and they're in OVC play. This game is on ESPN. Let me go back one. The previous game that we talked about, Howard and Harvard, it's on ESPN3. With that being said, when we talk about this game, it's in Cookeville, Tennessee. OVC game, 6:00 p.m. matchup on ESPN+. Tennessee State has to go on the road. As we said, they get the first win of the season, so they're 1-4. Hadn't played a conference game. They're at Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles, who are 1-4, 0-2 in conference in this matchup. So let me stick with you, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of Tennessee State against Tennessee Tech? Can Tennessee State continue to get things done, win their first conference game OVC, and head in a different direction?
I tell you what, this is a great opportunity, even though they have to go on the road. I mean, Tennessee Tech, they're averaging, 22 points a game. Tennessee State's right at 21. You look at the data points, they're fairly even. Scoring, defensive wise, they're fairly even. So you look at Tennessee State, they have a fairly good shot to win this game. The problem is, which Tennessee State team are we gonna get?
Mm-hmm.
So very true. Very true. Good point. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this OVC game? Again, Tennessee State Tigers played some really good ball at times this year, and then obviously major upset another week.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that lends Mike to his point in terms of which Tiger you're going to get. But this is when it counts. This is conference play. So if they want to make a statement, they need to start with the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles.
Well, I think the big thing for Tennessee State is the blueprint is just like this past week against Bethune-Cookman. They got to create some turnovers. That defense has to show up. They got to the quarterback 4 times this past week against Bethune-Cookman. And how they have to go about winning is very much the way you see Dallas Cowboys winning right now, with a strong running game, not having any turnovers, and letting the defense kind of take over. So I think Tennessee State can go on the road and get this win, but you got to feed Jalen Rouse and Devon Starlin in this game and win that time of possession and kind of wear down Tennessee Tech in the second half.
Brandon King chimes in here as he was on the show last week. He makes the declarative statement: TSU is winning this game. Tennessee Tech. He said Tennessee Tech is giving up 194 points on the ground. Starling and those backs should eat up Saturday. And he's right. They play in the hands of Tennessee State because they want to run the ball. And when they can get going, they can run the ball pretty successful on the season. Even in that tough lane loss, they put up 200-plus yards running the ball. They get it done again against Bethune-Cookman. So great points there. I'm going to stick with you, Charles. Bonus game of the week. This is a SWAC bonus game of the week. It is a game that is a classic in itself. St. Louis, Missouri, played on Sunday and will be on the UAP Sports Network Sunday at 3 o'clock in St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis River City HBCU football classic features Alabama A&M and Pine Bluff. It's been a couple of years, a spring or so ago, when these two teams played for a conference championship. A&M has righted the ship to some degree. They've won 2 straight. They're 2-4 on the season, 2-1. Arkansas Pine Bluff started off with a couple of victories. So they have the same record, but they've lost the last couple of games as they have failed to 2-4, including some big losses in terms of Southern last week. But they played homecoming and played really well. A game that went back and forth with Texas Southern and couldn't quite pull out the victory as Texas Southern got it done. So they fall to 0-3 in the conference race. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, thus far, UAPB just hasn't shown me a lot offensively. And defensively, we saw how, Alcorn kind of beat them up on the ground. But I think this is a game that, Alabama A&M has momentum. They have a 2-game win streak going. They're seeming to gel a little bit more. It isn't the Alabama A&M that we've seen in the past with this high-scoring offense. I think they're in the bottom half of the SWAC in terms of offense. But, they have momentum, if you will. So I expect Alabama A&M to go on the road, neutral site game, and get the W. Maybe it might be different if this game was played in Pine Bluff, but I expect for the Bulldogs to go get the W.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup here? It's been tough for Pine Bluff. Can they figure out to kind of list it up? That's one of the places they do play in that class that they used to play in the St. Louis. Can they get it done? Will the Bulldogs continue just to build a little momentum for their third?
The short story is I think the Bulldogs continue to build a little momentum. I agree with CB. You hadn't seen a lot from UAPB. Skylar Perry is like number 7th or 8th in terms of passing in the SWAC. You look at rushing, you look at all the stats that really matter. And you don't see UAPB really peaking at any point during the year. Usually you'll see a team peaking at some point in the year. You don't see that from UAPB. Alabama A&M has a couple of choice wins lately. I see them continuing that momentum. You have not seen that vaunted passing attack that you saw a couple of years ago from A&M, Alabama A&M. But I think they have enough offense, enough of a balanced offensive defensive front to really bring home the victory, unless they just have a colossal mess up.
Good points. We got a little time left. We talked about Coach Prime and Prime, Amazon Prime in that matchup in terms of what that looks like. So I want to go to Charles and get your thoughts on this. Then we have some big news that I really want to get your thoughts in terms of the stadium. What's your general thoughts in terms of the primetime video with Amazon Prime? And getting a little more international. Obviously, he did that previously the first season, but now Amazon Prime has picked it up.
Yeah, you get an awesome look to go even more inside the Jackson State football program. And it's unique. It is a real family atmosphere. You have a lot of tremendous personalities that I think this docuseries will get an opportunity to take a look at. And then just some of the things that this team has kind of overcome. You've had a water crisis that they've had to deal with, but they are laser focused on like this goal in terms of winning the Black College National Championship. They've heard all the quips, if you will, and then you have these teams that are nipping at the heels, but they are dead set on domination, trying to go out there and make that happen. So I think you get a closer look at this Jackson State program. They work hard as all get out, but they have fun during the process.
Good points. Good points. I want to get both of your thoughts on this a little more. This just came out, and I know it's been behind the scenes. You talked about a lot of this in a lot of ways, but Deion Sanders, at least according to the title, motivates Jackson officials to push for new stadium, a sense of urgency to keep Deion has pushed the Jackson City Council to roll out a plan for a new stadium. This has been in the works for years, and for various reasons, state and or local, in terms of the city, the pieces of the puzzle just could not quite come together. You'd have one group, it wanted in one place, another group wanted another location. You'd seem like you'd get some momentum, it'd stop. But another hurdle, at least at this point, has been cleared. Deion Sanders and Jackson's are garnering national attention on a weekly basis, but they've also got the attention of some heavy hitters in their own town. Jackson City Council unanimously approved a resolution backing the construction of a new football stadium on Tuesday in hopes of helping keep Sanders in town for the long haul. We had a lot of people talk about those actions of doing, in a lot of ways, what's necessary to keep them there. I'd like to get Charles' points on the whole overall way to look at this. Obviously, this is coming from HBCU Game Day, written by Stephen J. Gaither. Quote, "We've had much success with our coach, Deion Sanders. Prime time. It's just the perfect time. If we're going to get a new stadium, to start talking, let's try to make it a reality." Ward 3, Councilman Kenneth Stokes said via WLBT, quote, "We're all hoping that Coach Prime stays in the city for a long period of time, but a lot of college universities are trying to get his talent. Quote, maybe if we can show as a state that we are committed to him staying and to the new stadium, maybe it would help encourage him to stay," he said. Let me go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of this arrangement? Not whether he's staying or not, but the fact that they're moving the next level to seek about the new stadium. Is this something that you think can finally get done? And is this a good step to at least try to get it done, if not?
Well, I applaud the efforts. I think there's a groundswell for a significant portion of Jackson State's fan base for a new stadium. It would be interesting to see, but I've talked with you about this in terms of, was the infrastructure ready? Was the infrastructure ready for a unicorn to show up, such as Prime? And thus far, the infrastructure has been lacking. So it looks as though some people have been, the shoulders have been shaken, if you will, to, kind of make things happen and see what happens and go from there. But Jackson State's fan base, I think, is deserving of a stadium, of a more modern stadium. But I'll be very honest with you. That stadium that they have now, it is a recruiting piece. It is a significant recruiting piece. There is not another stadium in FCS that, or beyond Yale Stadium, that holds, upwards of 55,000+ people. So when young men see that is a tool. That is a tool that is in the toolbox of Jackson State. So, and maybe I'm a traditionalist. I'm grew up in that stadium, and it is still significant too.
So it sounds like in some ways you'd rather see it maybe refurbished than a new stadium.
I think what we've seen within college football is the refurbishing of stadiums. I mean, how many college teams go out and go build new stadiums? We don't see that very often. But what we do see is they build or refurbish what they have, and it continues to be that recruitment piece.
Yeah, especially when you talk about of that size. You see a lot of schools do it, but they're much smaller because of the costs associated with building a 60,000 stadium. Sure. That tends to be what you see on a professional level. Exactly. You need a lot of tax base to help pay for that. So good point there. Let me get Mike's thoughts before we close it out.
Yeah, just kind of hearing it, a couple of questions come out in my mind. More so on kind of, CB's last point. A lot of people identify with the vet. And there's been a lot of venues where, folks that don't identify with a certain venue, cannot come back to hurt you. is it better to rebuild the vet than to rebuild a new stadium? Because it's more than just financial aspects. There's an identity in a certain facility. So those questions come up. The other thing is infrastructure. Does the city have the infrastructure? Can that become a Tuscaloosa where everybody's built up around, this program, the stadium, or even a college station? Do you have the infrastructure, the sport to build that kind of environment? So those questions kind of come up, at least on the outset. The other concern I have is Jackson State does not own the vet. Does it, still, but really, for all intents and purposes, everybody going there, that's Jackson State Stadium. So again, do you build off of that, expand that stadium, as opposed to build a whole new stadium? So those are just my initial thoughts, from a business standpoint and from an infrastructure standpoint. Long term, what's sustainable? Is it building the existing infrastructure, building around it, or starting from scratch and building something new?
Great points. And when you talk about that, we have a quote here. It says, quote, "We're talking about economic impact in the millions," quote, end quote. Councilman Vernon Harley says, if and when he decides to move on, it's going to be a loss. We need to go ahead and take advantage of all things we can do right now. And obviously you have the alternate viewpoint, which is from a whole different political perspective. Current Governor Tate Reeves was quoting when he was asked a whole different question. He went in this direction. So it's somewhat even hard for me to quote this, but to tell the full framework, I will put it out to quote, "I don't even like the state building stadiums when general fund tax dollars," end quote. Reeves said last month, quote, "I'm not really excited about Jackson building a football stadium," end quote. Yeah, we didn't hear much of that Brett Favre. I know he wasn't the governor then, but he was around the chicken coop. So it's interesting to see. I wonder when you really look at it, how many other state thinks that he's funded.
Jackson State
in regards to that. So
full control of the Veteran Memorial Stadium. I want to put that out.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to get out there, is that you have some folks that just make statements and you don't even get under it. But state that again, because I want to make sure folks are clear on what you just said in terms of who has control of it.
Yeah, Jackson State does have control of the Mississippi Veteran Memorial Stadium. So
okay.
Appreciate you making sure that we educate the masses in terms of those points out there. But it'll be fascinating to listen to. With that, let's close it up. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Every Tuesday and Thursdays, we'll be right back talking about those big-time CIAA, SIEC, MEAC, and SWAC matchups. We're in conference season, so it gets good. Tune in Thursday at 6 o'clock. We look for all the discussion and any new news that comes up. Follow me, Dr. Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyatta-Cavil. That's DrKenyatta-Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Facebook and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.